Mindset Game podcast, and I'm your host, James Roberts. Before we get started with this week's show, first off, let me take this opportunity to welcome back the regular listeners. And if this is your first time listening to the show, I hope you enjoy this episode and decide to subscribe to the show. And on today's show, I've got Rhys Jones. He's a two-time Paralympian, having competed in London 2012 and Rio 2016. So welcome onto the show, Rhys.
Thank you very much.
So before we delve into today's episode, Rhys, can you talk us through your journey from obviously your humble beginnings in the Welsh Valleys to the high heights that you've made of making two Paralympics?
Well, it started off by accident, really. I was in school one day, and my friend was talking about a disability football club that had started up only recently, as it was back then. And he told me about it. I said, "Yeah, can I go along to it?" And he said, "Go for it." Went for a training session in a pair of Vans, pair of jeans. And they said, "Yeah, get stuck in." So it all started in about 2008. And from there, it snowballed, really, because it went on to play badminton for Wales at the Special Olympics in 2009. And then from then on, the football coach was the covering disability sports officer for my area. And she bombarded Disability Sport Wales with a number of emails saying, "This boy is rapid, you have to have a look at it." And in May 2009, went for a trial with Disability Sport Wales, and as they say, the rest is history.
So you're not one of those athletes, per se, that Anthony Hughes was scouting through, or you've probably heard the stories of him waiting outside supermarkets and whatnot. For people listening, it sounds a bit dodgy, but obviously the athletes between Disability Sport Wales knows that that's probably where he got a lot of his athletes from.
Yeah. No, I wasn't one of them.
Well, it makes a change.
I have heard about the scouting methods from swimming and all different various sports.
I'm trying to think. The likes. Well, there's quite a few. A lot of them quite gone on to the heights of achieving quite well in sport. Like Stephen Thomas is one of them, and it's quite. When you hear it, you're thinking, "Is that really what you do?"
Yeah, I was, as I said, one of the guys from Disability Sport Wales knew who I was anyway, a guy called Simon Hollyfield, and Anthony asked him, basically, "Is it true that this guy is, fast?" And he said, "Yeah, I've had dealings with him in the past, and yeah, he's a real talent." So, as I said, it started by accident, really, because I overheard my friend talking about a disability football club. He didn't actually say to me about it. I'm not the nosy type, but I thought, well, I've got nothing going on in my life, and basically my PlayStation was my best friend. And I said to my parents, "Can I give it a go, see what happens?" And who would have thought the 8 years down the line I would have been doing everything that I'm doing.
And kind of, you say your PlayStation was your best friend. So would you say you were not of a sporty nature when you were younger then?
I loved football, but being the only person really with a physical disability in school, it was hard. Not many people would want to bother with me. I was called slow, clumsy. Basically, they said, "Don't give the ball to him because he'll give it away off the team." So it was hard because, as I said, I loved football, wanted to play football, sport mad, really, anything other than darts, because I don't consider darts a real sport.
Why is that, though?
I just don't, I wouldn't say that it's not a real sport, because obviously it is, 'cause it takes hours and hours of practice. But at the time, I didn't see it as being, I thought you just chucked a stick at the board, and that was it.
And kind of going on for your career, now that you've got to Paralympics, what are kind of your aspirations going forward?
I obviously want to win a medal of some sort at the games, whether that be Tokyo or as it is 2024. But what I want to do, I just want to be the best that I can be. I just want to get the best out of myself, and along the way, if I inspire others to do so, take up sport or just do anything really, then I know I've done a good job.
And obviously, you've not had the best of lucks with this season. You managed to make the World Champs, and I think I was reading off your Facebook, you posted some of your best times, even though you spent the majority of the season injured. So talk me through that kind of mindset there.
Well, it was hard. Winter's training was going so well. Posting times, we were doing speed endurance things like reps of 200 meters and absolutely destroying them, But then I don't know whether it was a case of it happened straight away or everything, but I had a stress fracture in my toe, and it was hard to come to terms with, because, as I said, everything was going so well, and then in a split second, I wasn't even training when it happened. I was walking to training. So I was going by the Millennium Stadium, or the Principality Stadium as it was, and I just felt a weird sensation in my foot. And I thought, there's nothing wrong because I'm still walking on it. Went to see the physio that day, and he said, it's a muscular problem. Maybe a calf was tight, and it was pulling on some of the bones in my feet. And I thought, right, okay then, fair enough. Started training on it, could put pressure on it. And by the end of that week, it was all doom and gloom. I couldn't put any pressure on it at all. I was walking on my heel rather than my feet. And they told me the next day that I'd had a stress fracture and I'd been in a boot for 6 weeks. And then a further 4 to 6 weeks of rehab out of the boot. So that wasn't leaving much time for the qualification date, really. It was the beginning of June that we had to qualify. And by the time that I would have been out of the boot, it would have been the end of May. So I would have only had about 1 or 2 competitions to qualify. But I came back early. I came back 2 weeks early out of the boot, and then 2 weeks early out of rehab as well. Just having a positive mindset, really, thinking I am going to be going to London. It was home World Championships. And obviously experiencing London 5 years ago, it was it would have been hard not to go. It would have been devastating. But as I said, we made it. Didn't think that I was going to make it because I wasn't really posting quick times, as you would say. But I got a phone call off the head coach, and she said that I'd been selected for the 100 meters.
And looking back through your kind of career as an athlete, you've been quite fortunate to compete at home. Because I was just thinking over the top of my head, you've competed in London, obviously with the World Champs this year, the Paralympics in 2012. And then Swansea as well in 2013. Oh
yeah, it's been class, really. Who needs sunnier climes, isn't it? When you got the likes of London and Swansea, and Glasgow as well with the Commonwealth Games in 2014.
So you've probably been flush with that's almost unheard of. I think I've competed at home, in a longer career, twice. It's mental, really. I said I've been to some places as well. Went to South Africa on a training camp in 2015.
been to Doha in 2015, went to Rio in 2016. But yeah, it's when the able-bodied guys got the likes of Moscow and Beijing and everything, and you're thinking, oh, I've got Swansea and London, But I'm not complaining, it's been a hell of a ride, really.
Oh, but I think any athlete would probably swap I wouldn't call Moscow exotic, but say Beijing for being able to compete in front of the home crowd, the family, and obviously a very passionate, supportive crowd.
Yeah, definitely. My parents and my family have been supportive. My parents have followed me around the world. As I said, they've been to Doha, Lyon, Rio, anywhere they can, really, because they've been so supportive, and I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for my parents and my family.
And obviously now that you're in your down period after the World Champs, is it all go in terms of looking at, obviously because you're a Commonwealth athlete, is everything looking at the Gold Coast and trying to qualify for the Commonwealth team now?
It is, yes. My classification isn't actually in the Commonwealth Games as it was in Glasgow. We have the T38 100 metres, which is the next class up from me. But we've been told that if we are in a certain area in the Commonwealth, like in the top 8, I think it is, then we have a chance of going. So as of next week, it is all guns blazing towards the Commonwealth Games and the Europeans in Berlin.
It was busy time then.
Oh, very. As I said, we need to keep improving. As I said, everyone needs to move forward with a sport. So we just need to find ways of doing that, whether that be on the track or in the gym or, as I said, anything really, is just moving forward. And yeah, I just want to keep progressing.
I've kind of kept a little bit of a close eye on what you've been doing in the gym, how you've been doing on the track, as obviously, you could say former teammate, because we were teammates in London 2012, so to speak, and kind of seeing how you've progressed in the gym. You've probably come on leaps and bounds in terms of, like squatting and things like that. So you're obviously seeing probably the benefits on the track from those improvements. So in terms of kind of coming back to that injury again, you were able to post, I think, what was it, the third fastest time this year in the heat?
Yeah, in the heats of London.
So talk to me a little bit about what kind of emotions that brought up when you seen that come up on the big screen.
It was really weird. I'd had an abscess that week as well, so I was dosed up on painkillers that week. So it came as a bit of a shock to me. But at the same time, when I was running, normally when I run a personal best, I'm on the floor, I'm like on my knees or anything. But there was a lot more to give. There was really a lot more to give. And for someone who had spent 4 months off the track to run a personal best and by quite a bit, not just like 0.01 of a second, it was phenomenal. And to do it in front of a home crowd, it was just spectacular.
And I was talking to Jared Wallace about this, and obviously the mentality between you racing in the heats and the final. Do you think it was, obviously, with you, because I think you ran a little bit slower in the final, do you think it's that added pressure that a final brings that sometimes you kind of tense up a little bit more?
No, I think what my honest opinion of this was that with the abscess, it was just getting me down. The painkillers took over, and I think the worst thing that I could have done was have gone to sleep on the Wednesday night, because I think the adrenaline had actually been taken over by like the painkillers and the actual pain of my mouth. I just think for me, I haven't been fit enough over the past 5 years to actually be doing the rounds. I think if the heat and the final had been on the same day, then I think it possibly could have been a different outcome. But as I said, it's all if, buts and maybes. It's all done now. I don't think it's pressure as such. I managed to cope with pressure. As I said, over the past 5 years, I've come out with a Commonwealth bronze medal after being out for so long, and a European bronze medal as well. But yeah, I think last year and not even this year, last year was the longest that I sustained a training period without being injured. So I think it comes down to lack of fitness for me. As I said, I'm injury prone, so I've torn quite a lot of muscles. I've had stress fracture, bone stresses, and he said, yeah, I've built up my fitness a lot. But I said, yeah, rather than pressure, like you try to block it all out when you're on the start line. You can't think about anything other than yourself. And yeah, the thing of not being fit is just what I think it is for me.
But then you say it's not a lack of fitness, but then do you think it's because you're injury prone that is just mounting on some underlying issues, so to speak?
I'm the type of person that won't give up and won't say no. So I just want to be the best that I can be. If we've got a certain amount of reps in the session, then I'll want to do the full however many reps. Sometimes I've just got to learn to back off slightly. Give my body a rest. For the past couple of years, I've been training extensively, and thus, I've pushed my body to its limits more times than that I've had cooked dinners. And I think that's, for me, is what I need to do. I just need to back off a little bit.
But Rhys, does that not come down to a little bit of inexperience, or do you think that you're having that change in mindset now because you're getting more knowledgeable as an older athlete?
I think it comes down to knowledge. As I said, when you get older, you learn more about your body. I'm sure like a lot of athletes will say when they were younger and they first started out, sprinters wanted to run or swimmers just wanted to swim. But it comes to experience, learning how your body works, what's best for you, what's not best for you. And then pretty much just said, no, it does come down to experience. I do agree with that. And I said I've matured more as an athlete and as a person in the last couple of years. I'm 23, so it's been 8 years now that I've been doing the athletics, and it has taken a long time to notice, but I do know my body now.
And in terms of like your progression through athletics from obviously starting out as a 15-year-old to now, how much has Disability Sport Wales' academy helped you to get to the heights that you have done?
They've helped massively. I said it wouldn't be where I am as well without Disability Sport Wales. They've given me a lot of help, both coaching, S&C. It is being part of their academy has made me the athlete that I am, and the person that I am, really.
And in terms of, I think this is correct, but quote me if I'm wrong, you've obviously had a change to working with Christian Malcolm now. How was that? How did that come about, and how has that kind of spurred you on to possibly? Well, you've kind of seen some of the results come to fruition this year, but kind of as a partnership going forward, what do you think some of the goals could be, and what do you think is attainable in the future?
It all came about really because I was training up in Loughborough, and it was just the fact that when it came to competition, it didn't seem to be, I wouldn't say progressing, but the times weren't coming down. So as every athlete in their life feels that it's time to seek new avenues. Christian Markham came on board with Disability Sport Wales in 2016, and I thought it was a good opportunity, moving back home, not traveling 3.5 hours to training every week. And the fact is that he's, in my eyes, one of the best technical sprinters that Britain has ever had. And he's a medalist himself, both world and Commonwealth. He's been a 4-time Olympian. He's had his struggles as well with his injuries, and he's just come out of the competing environment. So I think having the youngsters that he does, I say youngsters, I'm an old stager really, but being that close to our age, it helps because he still has that, he knows what to do, he knows what we need to go through. It hasn't come easy for him. Well, it doesn't come easy for any athlete really, but we work well as a unit. Because he's more technically minded, he's taught me basically how to run again, making the most efficient way to run. And for going forward, obviously every athlete wants that gold medal, whether it be World, Olympic, Paralympic, Commonwealth, European, going forward, I obviously want to be the best that I can be and the best in my classification. So if we can get that result, then yeah, it's going in the right direction. And as I said, got 4 PBs now in 2 years, so obviously something's working.
But then on reflection from that, if you kind of analyse it, you say you got 4 PBs in 2 years. What was kind of the downside beforehand? What was kind of the time scale between PBs before you switched to working with Christian?
So I went up to Loughborough in 2013 to 2015, and I last PB'd before 2016 in 2013. So you're talking a period of about 3 years. 2 to 3 years, yeah. And that's, as I say, great things take time. But for me, it's taken a little bit longer than I would have liked.
But in terms of having to go to Loughborough, was it because you were directed to go there because it was a centralised programme, or was it through choice?
We were told that it was pretty much the way forward. The best coaches / coach was up in Loughborough, and you take the advice of if you want to get better, then you move forward. So that was through being told really. It was my choice as well. I was given the choice: did I want to move or did I want to stay? And to be where I want to be at the top of the podium, then you do have to make those sacrifices and those choices.
And you were saying, obviously, with that sacrifice you had to travel there, would it not have been possibly easier to have up sticks and possibly moved there full time if that was possible?
At the time, I was still maturing. With the disabilities that I've got, mentally, I'm a couple of years behind everyone that's my age. So I'm not totally independent either. So it would have been hard for me to move away from my family, not being able to see them probably until like weekends or a couple of weekends. And I'm open about this. I'm a home bird. I really am where my family are, and it would have been hard to up sticks and just move 3.5 hours up the road.
I could see where you're coming from in terms of that. I think some athletes prosper a little bit better when they are in that familiar environment. That's you don't even have to say the home comforts. But if I use my kind of experience, because if we go back over a decade now, to obviously my time to try to make the Welsh team for the Commonwealth Games. Well, this would have been back in 2005, trying to make the team for Melbourne. Obviously, I moved. My family obviously were being in the military in Belgium, so I came back to Swansea in the summer to work with Billy Pye and to try and do my utmost to try and make the team. And because I wasn't in familiar environment, family wasn't around me. Obviously, the training was good and the workload helped, but when it came to competitions, I was swimming the worst I'd ever done. So you're thinking, like you were talking about, if you're in that environment, well, I can see, because I wasn't in probably the right frame of mind, emotionally, possibly physically, because I wasn't getting the benefits, probably getting the training benefits, but I didn't actually see them come to fruition until I was back in like familiar surroundings. So you're thinking, oof, what stress and other things can do to you, and obviously do to your performance. So I could see where you're coming from in terms of it's probably looking at each athlete's individual circumstances before making decisions. Yeah,
definitely. What works for one athlete doesn't necessarily work for every athlete. He said having my family around me definitely helps. He said my parents have come to every major championships and every small competition, like to qualify for the championships. Having them there is essential, really. I know a lot of athletes don't like their parents coming to watch them compete or wherever, but for me, it is, I feel, an essential part. And being at home in my own bed that I've had for, I've been living at home now for 23 years, and just driving, like the most I've gone now to drive to training is 40 minutes, and that makes a hell of a difference than 3.5 hours.
But then you were saying, athletes that don't like their family around them. Well, for me, I think mine is a little bit different because obviously my close family know how I operated as an athlete. I won't say it doesn't bother me in the slightest now of being a domestic athlete if people are there or not. Whereas probably my extended family probably didn't know how I operate. I probably got better towards the end of my career being, how would I put it? Not self-centered, but you think of other people's feeling as opposed to they come to watch you. You can't just shun them away and because you're not happy with your performance and whatnot. And whereas my mother knows that's how I was an athlete, be it good or bad results. I think the only occasion that wasn't the case was back in Beijing. I probably surprised, be it my coaches, family, because I said I was happy with the result, so to speak. And because like you said early on in the episode, as long as you do the utmost that you can, there's nothing you can do if somebody does better. So, and that probably shocked them. And I've kind of that mindset probably after that going forward anyway. Whereas I think before that, it would be sometimes you'd bring up excuses as to why somebody beat you, or I possibly didn't try hard enough or something like that. Whereas with that one, it's like, well, I threw the kitchen sink at it and it wasn't good enough. So, and you kind of move on from there.
Well, there's no point making excuses, really, is there? It's the same playing field for everyone on the day. He said, if you throw everything at it, then there's nothing more that you can give. And at the end of the day, you congratulate the people that are better than you. As I said, I finished 5th in London, and I congratulated everyone, whether they came 1st or 8th, and I'm friends with them. And there's, you're happy, you are happy for your friends. But as I said, the thing that lacked in me this year was the fitness. That's not making excuses. That's a fact. So I'm always striving for more with my performances. But then I know that if I've given everything at it, then at the time I'm happy with it.
Well, Rhys, when you say fitness, do you mean as in the base block of your winter training period, or something else, but in terms of like speed work or something like that?
I'd say I missed the best part of the speed work, being out through the injury. What time we had to do what we could, I give everything out there, and I did progress. But as I said, being out for the 4 months, whereas everybody else seemed to have a better training a training period, then that was what just happened for me. Just sustaining the rounds, it was hard, because if you've been out for 4 months, then you struggle, don't you? I don't know, with the injuries that you've had, if you've been if you've been out for a certain amount of time, then it's hard to get back to where you need to be.
At my elite stage, I'd never, how long would I have been out? I think in rowing, the worst one I had, I was out a week, and that surprised people, because I tore a little bit of my rotator cuff. So, and I was surprised at how fast I healed, and I was on painkillers for a week. Obviously, no training, which is a bit disheartening when it's. I won't say it was the entire life, because I was a student as well, but it's quite difficult to come to terms. Obviously, that's a part of you at the time. I think with volleyball, I think it would have been maybe a month or two, but that was because it would settle down. I'd go back training, re-aggravate it. So it was one of those kind of niggling injuries. I never actually. Well, I got it finally resolved, but it was probably me going back too early and probably just re-aggravating it, which is, I think now I'm older. And it's probably an injury I've got now is probably similar, but it's in the other arm. But I can kind of say, well, you learn from your mistakes back then. I'll try and stay off it, get it sorted, and then obviously go back to training and competition. And it probably doesn't help now at domestic level. I don't have the luxury of having physio on tap, so it probably won't get sorted as quickly as it would have done in the old days.
So for me, if I give you a bit of an insight, over the last 5 years, I've had bilateral sportsman's hernia operation. I've torn my psoas. I've torn both my adductors. I've got a 9 centimeter scar tissue in my one hamstring. Said the stress fracture. As you can imagine, they're not just niggles. In the 2013 season, I only managed 5 weeks of training because I had underlying problems with my back. I had to have a cortisone injection to free up so much tightness that I couldn't bend over to do my laces up or put my shoes on. It got that bad. So when I say, like, fitness wise, over the past 5 years, I haven't just had niggles. I've had proper injuries.
And in terms of kind of looking at it from a strength and conditioning point of view, Rhys, do you think you are a better conditioned athlete now and possibly, as we say, going forward than you were back in 2013? Definitely.
I'm stronger. I say I'm fitter. But fitter from a physiological point of view. I'm at a weight where I'm happy with how my performances are going. I'm not just lifting weights now for the sake of trying to lift heavy weights. I'm understanding my body and how much I can lift or push or anything. He said it's all tailored now to me. And if someone else is doing something else in the gym and they're saying, "Oh, I got a PB," then good on them. I'm just about maintaining my strength and maintaining my conditioning. And yeah, I honestly think that I am a better athlete, conditioning wise and strength wise, in 2013.
And if we harken back to kind of your experiences now of competing in the Paralympics, which one do you think was, in your opinion, the better atmosphere to compete in?
London, by far. Being at home games, it was just phenomenal. 80,000 people every single day, every session in the stadium. Arenas were full. And for me, it was my first major games. I didn't have the experience of a European Games or a World Games or anything. The most that I had competed in front of was about 2,000 people at the test event in May that year. To then go from 2,000 to 80,000 was pretty special. And they were all cheering for me. That was the thing. And I don't think I'll ever get the likes of that again. I know we've just had London 2017. It was a smaller capacity, but obviously the crowds love their para sport and they'd always get behind the British athletes.
And in terms of, there's probably a poignant question here, Rhys. If you had to choose between competing in your first Paralympics, would you have chosen to have done it in London or maybe somewhere abroad where there's less possibly media scrutiny, so to speak?
For me, it was all about not having that pressure on me. I went to London for experience. I honestly, it was great that it was in London. Didn't have to travel that far, but he said there wasn't so much expectation, and I don't think it would have mattered really whether it was London or whether it was somewhere else. I like going abroad now. I honestly don't mind it, and the fact is that London was probably for me. You've been to more games, but for me, it will always be my best memory, whether I win a Paralympic medal or not, because it was my first games, and because of that support and the amount of people that did actually turn out, that will always be for me my best memory of a Paralympic Games.
Oh, you're actually wrong then, Rhys. I've done the same amount of games as you have. But no, I think for me, I think maybe because I started out, well, you are in a sport as well that is predominantly expected to do well in, be it the Olympics, Paralympics. So it doesn't help sometimes to be it being your first game, because it was the same with me with rowing. Obviously, well, it's Paralympic debut, but it's got that pedigree with its Olympic counterpart. So it's like, well, it's got all this history with its obviously Olympic counterpart. Well, the Paralympic team should do as well. Obviously, to kind of cut a long story short, obviously, what was told to the media was make a final, whatever. But obviously, as you know, in-house, you have sometimes higher expectations of yourself, which you don't kind of portray. And then obviously, if you don't meet them, it's not as bad, and it's not that kind of media scrutiny, or you didn't raise to your expectation. Whereas if you kind of say, well, the final is good and everything else is a bonus, when you meet that, when you kind of make that, it's the pressure's off. And it's, for me, it was a weird one, because that's the most relaxed I've ever been in my entire career, with my first Paralympic final.
Yeah, that was for me as well. My first event was my 200 meters, and I went in ranked second slowest on paper, and I just thought, well, I'm going out there, I'm going to go have fun. It's a crowd, they're going to cheer for me, and that thing of being there and doing what you love is it does take that pressure off you. Obviously, as you said, you have expectations of yourself. I never tried to look too far forward. My intention at the moment, and always has been, to do myself proud and run the race as best as I can run it. And then the times will take care of themselves. If it's a PB, it's a PB. If it's not, then the performance that I've given on the day, is it adequate? You assess your performance over and over, and for me, running a 9/10 of a second PB was what I loved about it, because I didn't really know what happened in that race, because all I thought was, oh my God, this crowd is absolutely amazing, and they just roared me around the bend. And from that day on, all I wanted to do, as I said, is be the best that I can be and do the best that I can. And as I said, anything that comes my way after that, whether it's a final or whether it's a PB, whether it's a medal, then it is a bonus, and I take each day as it comes and each run as it comes. I don't look too much forward. I said, in training, if we do 6 runs, I don't worry about the 6th run. When I come to the first run, I worry about the first one, then the second one, all the way up to the 6th one, and just think, could I have done better? And if you always, you should never be happy with your performance, entirely happy with your performance. You should always strive to do better, and that's what I do. That is exactly what I do. I strive to do better. I'm always happy if I come back from an injury and do a PB. Who wouldn't be, but for me, that's my motto. I take each one as it comes.
And now, Rhys, this might be a little bit of a controversial question. Do you take more heart from competing for Wales in the Commonwealth or for GB in any major games?
I don't want to offend no one, but for me, I wanted to get back from injury for the Commonwealth Games. As you know, from a para side, we don't always get to represent Wales at every Commonwealth Games. So for me, it would be my first time. It would have been in Glasgow, so it was near enough for home games. And the pride for a Welshman is always to put the three feathers or the dragon on your chest and do yourself proud and do your country proud. And being my first major international medal, running for Wales was absolutely incredible, and I'll never forget it.
Well, I think, as you say, it's very, very emotional and very patriotic to do it. I've unfortunately I haven't got the opportunity. I've had trials, obviously not made the team, so I've always been on the outside looking in. And I think the sports that obviously don't get to compete in it, I wouldn't say we're jealous, but it's a bit envious that because you don't get to do it, you might get to, I don't know, compete for Wales on it, be it at lower competitions, be it disability sport, England's events in swimming or athletics or whatnot. Whereas obviously when I was in swimming, I had that opportunity because it was there. And when I've moved across, it's kind of been, well, it doesn't exist. So I kind of have to get on with my career and just kind of accept it. And that's the only one that's probably from probably a good, successful career. That's the only one that's not there.
People are envious. It's not. It's an honour. It's a massive honour. Anytime you put a Welsh vest on, whether it be domestic or international level, you always wear it with pride. And for me, being Welsh is the main priority. But representing GB, not taking anything away, because representing GB is the highest honour you can have. And I'm just lucky that I've been able to do it on multiple occasions. And hopefully, as I said, if I can make the Welsh team for the Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, then I'm going to do my best. I'm going to wear that vest with pride. I keep all my all my kit, whether it be GB or whether it be Wales, and every time I dig it out and I look at it, take it to school visits or anything, it brings back memories, and they're all fond memories. I said, wearing that dragon or those three feathers, it's a major honour and something that I will always cherish.
And you say you've kept all your kit. You must be inundated with it, then.
My attic is full. I was counting the bag. I was actually counting the bags in my head the other day. That I think I've got something in excess of about 10 bags up in my attic. I don't even know how I think we'll have to build an extension on the extension, to be honest, by the time that I'm finished with my career.
No, I think that your parents will say you need to get rid of some of that stuff.
Yeah, they've said I need to make way if I'm if I'm going to be going on. So, and I'm only 23.
Well, I think it comes back to you could probably donate stuff to, I don't know, your local school if you've not done it. Memorabilia and whatnot. I've not. Well, be it kit swap or giving it to charity or schools and whatnot. I've still got pieces of probably every games, but it's obviously it takes up space, and it's like you say, it's nice to look at, but then you've still got the pictures as well. So it's I don't know. It doesn't come out as much as it used to, but I think a lot of people do. I think they're more surprised because I would say you're probably humble as well, you don't bring it up a lot that you do your career, like your sporting career, unless somebody brings it up themselves, because I think as an athlete's mentality anyway, you kind of move on anyway. That's the games finished, be it Worlds, Europeans, Paralympic Games. What's in the past now, I can't do anything about it. You got to move on to the next one. And I think that mentality kind of goes across, and this is probably me speaking now because I've retired, it kind of goes into your next chapter of your life. Okay, that was a section of my life, so to speak. It can't have a bearing on what I do now. If you want to talk about it, we will do, but I'm not going to put it in your. not going to put it in your face.
Yeah, exactly. That's my feeling. When I run now, I run in my club vest. The Rhondda Athletics. I do a lot of speeches for different schools and whatnot, and I'll talk about it. But I just see it as I've done it, and yeah, okay, I'm not going to throw it down your throat, because I'm moving on to the next part. We've got Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast and Europeans in Berlin next year, and you take it one bit at a time. What happened in 2017 has happened in 2017. As of Monday, 2018 starts for me. As regards kit, I'll always want to keep my first GB kit and my first Welsh vest. But then after that, yeah, I am going to have to start making room, because, they say trophies gather dust and memories last forever. And you'll always have that memory of, for me, it'll be London, those 80,000 people screaming. For me, the first time that, put the Welsh vest on. After that, you represent GB, you represent Wales, and as you said, you move on. Hopefully when I retire, I have a lot more vests, a lot more medals, and then you can talk about it. But yeah, being who I am, I just want to focus on the next thing rather than looking in the past. You should never look back. You should always look forward.
But then you said keeping your kit. Well, for the listeners, I'd say our kit is almost like gold dust. Everybody wants it.
Yeah, exactly. But as I said, like the school you grew, you went to, the club that you started with. You got to give it back to them, because even though my PE teachers didn't start me off in sport, and my school always looked after me. They made sure that I did what was right for me. They always put my sporting career, I wouldn't say they put it first, but they supported me when I told them that I would have to go to London, and they said, well, we can defer your exams and you can come and do them next year. There's no a set thing of you have to do them in second year, sixth form. So really, I am grateful to where it started for me. And I put in an Instagram post the other day. I went down the local track, and you gotta remember where you came from, because they places and people have put you in the first step forward. I am honestly grateful to everyone that's been on this journey with me and continues to be on it with in the future.
I think I've seen that picture as well. It was quite surreal, because it doesn't look like a modern track.
No, it's actually it's an old cinder track. So the local athletics club train on there. and any time that I can actually help with them, it's about giving back to the community. And I don't train with them because my training nights are on the same nights as them, but they have always said that, I'm a part of the club, so I am eternally grateful to them to wear the mighty purple and gold of the Rhondda Athletics Club.
And last question for you, Rhys, before we wrap up the episode. If you had to summarize this entire show into one sentence for people to take away, what would that be?
Informative. It gives... I'll probably go on for a paragraph now rather than a sentence, but it gives people an insight as to what the athlete or person is about. And I think that by doing these podcasts, a lot of people will learn what people are about. They're not just, the faces out there. They are genuine, down-to-earth people.
So once again, Rhys, thanks for coming on the Mindset Game podcast.
No worries, my pleasure.
And I wish you the very best in, obviously, the seasons to come.
Thank you very much.
And before I forget, I would really appreciate it if you would be so kind as to leave a short written review, as it helps to get the podcast more notoriety, and it would be more visible in future to others, and thus helping more people, which my guests and I are all about. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time for another episode of the Mindset Game podcast.